everybody? It's the BKBK podcast where sports and the culture collide and the New York Jets reign supreme. I'm your host, Brandon Phillips, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Brian Taylor, Kerry Taylor, and Captain Kyle McKenna. All right, so the New York Jets, who always played second fiddle to the more popular New York Giants, now have the mass appeal. All right? Just like that song from Gangstar.
Mass appeal.
Money like grass with the mass appeal. Right? You know, young cats don't remember that song, but everybody here on BKPK knows that, man. Big time.
No doubt.
Yeah, you know, money growing like grass with the mass appeal. By the way, my favorite all-time producer.
Was that on the same tape as DeWick?
No, I don't think so. No.
Okay, all right.
No, it's hard to earn.
Yeah, DeWick came out in '92, and Mass Appeal came out in I want to say '95.
All right, we gotta fact check it. All right.
Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, so listen, the spotlight therefore is now on the New York Jets rather than say the New York Giants. Pourquoi? That's French for why. Why is that? The Aaron Rodgers effect. Okay, so now we have one of the best QBs of all time on the Jets. We weren't all on the same page about it. I know that I didn't really want him, but now since we didn't have the option, I'm a Jet fan, thoroughly. So I'm just like, all right, let's just bring him in. Let's just, give him what he needs to get so that he can be successful. And then we had draft day this weekend. So here it is. Did we get Aaron Rodgers what he needed to get to kind of be successful while being a New York Jet?
Who wants to take it first?
First of all, let's break down. Did we pay too much to get him, and then that screw up our draft?
Well,
I think we paid too much to get him. I do.
I mean, you didn't want to get him, so I mean that would be part of the reason why you
bit would have been too much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What I would also ask is, did we pay too much to get him? Yes, but would you have still paid the same price regardless?
Listen, it's all about the result at the end of the day, right? So we'll see what this ends up turning out to be. Does he play a second year? Do we make the playoffs? He has to play 65% of the snaps in order for it to be a second round pick next year versus a first round pick. So that's just for injury, right? Injury early on in the year. That's the only thing that we really have an insurance policy for as far as the picks are concerned. But to me, you get, was he 3 or 4 time MVP, right? He seems very happy when you look at him coming to the Jets. Normally with Green Bay last couple of years, he hasn't been to OTAs or the offseason and stuff. He comes through the door. I love the video. He's coming through the door. He pounds out Salah, shaking hands and kissing babies and stuff. I mean, he's been to the Rangers game. He's been to the Knicks game. He's really enjoying his time in New York City. So I think the amount of compensation we gave up kind of somewhat indicates that he could be here for more than 1 year. And if that's the case, I don't think we paid too much.
Especially, I would agree with you, especially when you defer $50 million into the next year.
Yeah. I don't even know what that looks. $100 million that we owe him next year. You're an accountant, bro. I mean, how does that make it make sense?
Right. I'm an accountant, and I understand that $50 million next year is
it's a whole lot of money.
Right. The good thing, though, what they did was they arranged his contract in a way that he's only going to be hitting like $15.4 million on the cap
this year,
even though we're paying him $58.5 million or something like that. So that's a great thing for us and our continued free agency aspirations, as June approaches, and signing our draft picks as well. So that's a good thing. And also, it kind of relieves us from maybe cutting some of the players that we thought at the end of this past year that we thought we were going to absolutely have to cut. Carl Lawson's still here.
Yeah.
Corey Davis is still here.
Yep.
We didn't get any wide receivers in the draft, so we may have to keep them. and I'm happy with keeping him. I think he's a solid receiver, and let's just give him as many weapons as we can give him.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
not happy with keeping him at $11 million per year to be the third receiver at all. So the only way
Right.
that he stays, in my opinion, is if he is taking a major league pay cut. There's no
Otherwise, he's going
way.
to get cut.
Yeah, otherwise he's a casualty. Um, because I like him too. I think he's pretty good, and he's had some injuries that have, you know, crossed him up a little bit, but too much money on the yearly.
I hear
Um,
you. I hear you, Kyle. But he signed a 3-year deal. This is year 3 right now. So if he fits comfortably within our cap space
right.
at the rate that he's getting right now, I'm happy with keeping him there. Or if he does agree to a pay cut, I'm happy with that too, as long as it all fits and we're not compromising other things. If it doesn't compromise things, this is his last year anyway. So I'm
yeah,
cool with that.
in most cases, on a 3-year deal, your heaviest burden, cap wise, is going to be on year three. And if you did it the right way, with your least amount of dead money. So, I mean, if there is ever a time to cut him, it's now. Um, based on those numbers. But I thought that Corey Davis might be part of this Aaron Rodgers deal,
Too.
in some way, shape, or form. You guys know that I was advocating for a while the pick swap as part of the compensation.
Mm.
I think that the fact that it worked out that way um, was interesting. I didn't tell you
Right.
guys this
You
on the
wanted the pick
text.
swap, and that's why we didn't get our tackle, Kyle. Thank you for
You,
thank you
yeah,
for bringing that
yeah.
up and putting that into
You
the
can blame
ether.
that. You can blame that on me. Yeah, because me and Joe D we
But,
talked.
the,
Yeah.
but here's the thing.
He listens to the podcast.
Keeping with
I
that
trust.
theme, in keeping with that theme, like what state would have drafted an offensive tackle at 13 or at 15, right? Who is then going to start? Who is the projected starter? Dwayne Brown is still on our roster. Mekhi Becton is still on the roster, right? Who you've exhausted a first round pick on, Mekhi Becton. You're still trying to determine if you're gonna sign him to that 5th-year option,
You're not.
right?
You're
So at
not.
the end of the day, would that offensive tackle be starting?
So to me, you have somebody that you're going to bring in that you could push Becton and say, hey, whoever wins that battle, just like we have at the center position. You bring in the incumbent, right? And then you say, hey, you got Tippmann in there, and whoever wins, wins. And the other piece of the puzzle is that he's never healthy. He hasn't played. He's played one game in the last 2 years. So you can't
Haven't
even
played since 2020.
right. You can't even assume that he's going to play. So you need somebody that is starting level and caliber that you could bring along and assume that he's going to play a decent amount of games because you know Becton's history. And then you have Dwayne Brown, who's 36 years old, somewhere in that range, and he could slide in and start for either one of them next year. But you got to assume you got a 36-year-old on one side and a tackle on the other side that's played one game in the last 2 years. This tackle we were going to draft in the first round was going to start some games.
Yeah.
So the reason why I was so high on Skoronski as the guy,
Because he's ABT
right?
plus.
He's ABT plus, and what you could have done with Skoronski is you could have potentially replaced ABT at the right guard position and put ABT at left tackle. If you have a healthy Becton at right or a Max Mitchell at right, there's a lot of pieces that we could have moved around with Skoronski.
Sure.
I think that Tippmann might allow us to do some similar things in the on the interior O line, maybe kicking McGovern to guard and having him play center, him playing guard himself, because Tomlinson is another one where it's like you don't really know, are you going to get Pro Bowl Tomlinson or are you going to get what we got last year, which was less
Right.
than good.
Right.
So I like the Tippmann pick, but
Just
I
toilet
do
bowl
kind of.
Tomlinson.
What's that, Kerry?
I said he was toilet bowl Tomlinson.
Toilet bowl. Ooh.
Well, yeah,
Maybe Tomlinson can move to center. I mean, it's not a big jump for guards to go to center or for center to go to guards. You know,
I've never heard of Tomlinson playing center,
me neither.
and but I think that the flexibility that we have across there, if we have a healthy Becton and a healthy Brown and a healthy Mitchell, um, when AVT was healthy last year, he was the highest PFF grade at guard, and he was the highest PFF grade at tackle.
Right.
So that's your chess piece right there. Either way, you add Tippmann and then you add Carter Warren later on, even if he's developmental, and you got something going here. And McGovern was signed at such a low rate.
$2 million.
Your expectations don't have to be high.
1.9 million for 1 year for
Yeah.
McGovern to bring him back.
That's crazy, man. It's
So that's
crazy.
How did that happen? How did that
I don't
happen?
know.
I'll tell you why I think that happened. So we've been talking about the depth of center in this draft
Right.
here.
Right.
So if you didn't already have your center signed, the Ben Joneses of the world and the McGoverns, who are good centers, they're starting quality centers. Most of the teams already had their centers, and they're looking at this draft and they're saying, I can get a starting center in the 5th round.
Absolutely.
With a Jared Patterson being like the tail end of a group of centers that's going to be real good in this league. John Michael Schmitz on the Giants, he's probably going to wind up having a Nick Mangold career where he starts for 14 years, if they let him. But the Seahawks picked up the Michigan center, who I also think is a starting quality center in this league. I mean, he was the anchor to an O-line that no matter who was running in the backfield, whether it was Heisman candidate or his backup, they were running the ball for 300 yards a game. So I think he was a casualty of the volume of quality centers in this draft.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, do you like the first round pick?
Well, hold on a second.
Okay.
Before that, since we're just talking about the line, I just want to just say something about Carter Warren, who we drafted. What is it, the 4th round out of Pitt? And in the group text I texted you guys, with your other eye while you're watching the highlights on Izzy. I can't even pronounce his last name yet. I got to figure that one out.
Back.
Yeah,
Running back.
Right. Thank you. So running back out of Pitt. I said, while you're watching his highlights, and he looks awesome, keep your other eye and watch Carter Warren. Now, he looked pretty good out there, and they said the reason why his stock dropped is because he got hurt earlier on in the season.
Yeah.
It was either his knee or his ankle, and they said if he was to stay healthy, he would have gone in the top half of the 2nd round. So if that is the case, then we got some good stock right there as well that can develop into hopefully a high-end backup or maybe a starter, at some point.
Yeah,
and a quality starter at that.
I think as a result of COVID, the NFL went to some different protocols as far as local workouts and things like that to be able to keep things more centrally located for people to not have to travel. And Carter Warren apparently was part of one of those local combines that the Jets did, or that one of the colleges did by Florham Park. They have FDU right across the street from the Jets facility, and he was seen there because he's from Patterson.
Yeah.
And that might have been one of these things where they saw him, they had tape on him, they had recruited him, they had seen him earlier, and maybe he was a little higher on their board than other people had him, but they went out and got him because they knew who he was. You also had the Israel Adikamba, Izzy, is a Brooklyn product. He went to Lincoln High School in Coney Island, same high school as Stephon Marbury, and the point gods of Brooklyn basketball. So he is a local product, but Erasmus Hall High School in Flatbush had three guys go with Christian Isian, Sean Ryan, and Aaron Cruikshank, all out of Rutgers. And they all signed undrafted free agent contracts. And one more guy from Sheepshead Bay High School, Titus Leo, got drafted in the 6th round by the Colts. He's a great kid, one of those kids that stayed local with his high school, and I got to coach him in the Boomer game when I was still in New York, and he went on to Wagner and had a really good career as an edge there. So the Colts got a really good guy in him, and again, local Division I school, Wagner on Staten Island in New York. They probably found him. The Colts probably saw him at one of those local combines too.
That's dope.
Given they have the scouts around there, but Izzy looks like a version of Tony Pollard to me. When you look at his film, I don't know what you guys think as far as like where he fits in on our team.
I think that comp. I think Brian sent in a comp. He screenshotted a comp, and it said he looked like Isaiah Pacheco out of Rutgers, and I love the way Pacheco runs.
Yeah, he runs hard.
Yeah, I love the way
that guy runs violently.
Yeah, I mean, well, listen, you have Breece Hall is coming back from an injury, right? I mean, he's the top of the depth chart right there. And so you have a couple of other running backs that are in there behind him that are kind of scuffling, that are okay, but nobody that's a Breece Hall. This guy is a home run hitter. Yeah. I mean,
scuffling. What do you mean scuffling?
Scuffling to me means when Breece Hall went down, so did our season. So, I mean, that's what I mean.
That had nothing to do with the offensive line?
Somewhat. I mean, but the offensive line was a musical chairs before then too. I mean, the talent clearly dropped between Breece Hall and the number 2 running back. I mean, can we agree on that?
Breece Hall kept the O-line afloat, and he kept the poor quarterback play afloat as well.
Right.
Right. What I'm saying is that these running backs were getting hit behind the line of scrimmage. Breece Hall wouldn't have done anything when it came to that, right? My point is that I think we don't give enough love to Bam, right? And I think that if we have some offensive line consistency, I think that we're going to be able to run the ball. But I also think that Breece Hall wouldn't have had a significant impact on that because of how the offensive line played last year.
I disagree with you because he already played 7 games. He showed you how explosive he is, and that's with the poor play of the offensive line. That's with our quarterbacks not playing well.
The only thing I'll do.
Remember, Tucker went out right after that.
Exactly. I was about to say the same thing. That's the only thing I would say is that when
they both got hurt in the Denver game.
Exactly. They both went down at the same time. So AVT was definitely the linchpin to keeping that already brittle offensive line together. And then so when they both went down in that game, that's when the offensive line play totally fell off a cliff too.
Okay. That's a fair point.
Izzy is an upgrade over Zonovan Knight and Michael Carter.
He is.
Yeah.
He is.
And I think that
I got to look at his highlights then.
Yeah, I mean, he ran for 320 yards and 6 touchdowns against Virginia Tech in one game.
Okay,
I think Bam is good, but I don't think he's anything more than good. I don't think he's even close to being special. I think Breece is special, and I think that Izzy is very good. From what I've seen,
the thing about Bam is that
you guys are excited.
Bam is still going to have practice squad years, so you're not going to have to let Bam go. I mean, unless
normally we carry 4. Don't we carry 4 running backs?
I think for the most part we did either 3 or 4 last year.
It was 4. Remember Ty?
Yeah.
Before they released Ty, but the issue is that we're not going to be able to give Breece the lion's share of the carries beginning of the season.
Right.
It's just I don't see that happening.
Right.
We're going to have to put him in, right? So it's going to be a lot of Michael Carter, a lot of Ty, a lot of this Izzy dude. So hey, just rotate him in and out. Rotate him out.
That's totally fine. So hey, listen, um, what do you guys? So let's talk about the first pick of the draft now. All righty. How did we get there? Why
You
did
have
we
to.
pick who we? Not the first pick of the draft, but our first pick as far as the New York
Yeah,
Jets
I know what you mean.
at
Well,
the 15th pick. So
we got there because of Kyle suggesting this pick
Because
swap, right?
I traded the spot back.
Exactly. So he put it out in the ether, and so we swapped picks, and that's what got the A-Rod deal done. So we sit at 15. And you know what? I think really at the end of the day, it was, and let me, Darnell Wright. Darnell Wright going as the
yeah,
first tackle
that threw us off.
totally threw everything off.
Yeah,
Because then at that point in time, that was somebody that was going to drop. It was going to be him or Jones, Broderick Jones, that were going to be there potentially for us. And then it turned into no,
a rush.
It turned into a rush on the tackles, and then we were sitting at 15, and New England traded out with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh knew we wanted at least the last tackle that was available with a first round grade, and that was Broderick Jones. So they leapfrogged us, and New England was very happy to have that happen. And so that we ended up taking an undersized outside linebacker slash edge, I guess you would say. Defensive end, I think, is what he played, in college. But 34 and a half sacks in his career, more than Will Anderson by a half a sack in his career.
They have him ranked as the second best pass rusher in the draft. By the way,
Yeah, yeah.
number one being Will Anderson.
Yeah, and so after we had to take a deep breath because everybody was pissed off with the fact that we did not get the tackle that all of us wanted, and looking at it, you can never go wrong selecting the second best edge in the draft and somebody that had production throughout his college career. And so I was looking through different websites and stuff and people that watched Iowa State games that were Iowa fans per se and whatever, and they're like, you're going to like this dude. Like they really keyed on him, which is part of the reason why his production went down in his fourth year. But I mean, somebody who has 34 and a half sacks knows how to get to the quarterback. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, he had more sacks than he did tackles for loss. Or like usually you have like a 2-to-1 ratio with a really high level edge.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know if he had more or it was like maybe 10 off. But it was weird to see those numbers, the sacks so high,
Right.
and the tackles for a loss, which tells me that he's not necessarily an every down guy.
Right.
He's more of a situational pass rusher. But we've also had a lot of success last year with Bryce Huff as a situational pass rusher.
Yep.
We have him on a second round tender. He may not be with us more than another year. So I don't. I was in the best player available mode after we didn't have the tackles. To me, it was a Jackson Smith enigma.
Yeah.
Move and Jigba, yeah.
It's an enigma.
It's an enigma
Right.
why they didn't pick him.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, like you guys know that I'm a really I don't want to reach for need ever. I don't feel like it's the mark of a good front office, and I think that they didn't reach for need here, which is good. But at the same time, people have different viewpoints of who somebody is on their board, right? Like maybe this is a conversation with Brees Hall, where they're like, tell us about this guy. What kind of locker room guy is
That's
he?
right. That's right. They both played at Iowa State.
Right.
Yeah, if we add this guy, as opposed to like a Jalen Carter, where you don't know what you're going to get. And I heard stuff about Jalen Carter even after he got picked by the Eagles, where the Georgia coaches were very honest about him and said, yeah, his work ethic is questionable sometimes. Like, and some of that stuff playing out is not really far off the course of where he was. So, the Eagles are definitely playing with house money in a lot of ways. because they've been able to have success and kind of stack things. Hopefully, that's what we did with this pick. That we took an area that we want to be our closer. We like, is this guy going to be our Mariano Rivera or Von Miller for the Broncos and the Rams? You know, close
Right.
the door, and then you're hoisting the Lombardi Trophy because you got a Hall of Fame quarterback and a set of weapons around him. So
Here's how I was looking at it. I was looking at it like this after I got past, being highly upset,
tweaked.
we got super tweaked out, that New England and Pittsburgh just totally screwed us over.
Did you throw something in your house, B?
Was that?
Did you throw something in your house, B?
Nah, I didn't. I didn't. I did it all in my mind. I threw like a TV or something like that. I throw a TV at you, crazy. AKA Prodigy right there. Look at Kerry, check him out. Nah, but I started looking more positively at it, and like I said before, he was rated as the second best pass rusher in the entire draft behind Will Anderson. And then it's like I started thinking about, guys, we're in the AFC.
Yeah.
The best quarterbacks are in the AFC.
Yeah.
You want me to list them off? We have to go through all of these high-end quarterbacks to get to where we want to go.
Playing Mahomes today this year too.
To have Aaron Rodgers bring us to where the Jets audience is hoping that we go to this year, which is like hopefully the AFC Championship game minimum, but people are talking Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? And we have some of these quarterbacks and offenses in our own division.
Yep.
So we have to get through them. So then I started looking more positively, and I was like, man, we're in the AFC. We got to get through the AFC. We got to get through Burrow and Mahomes and the Bills quarterback, whose name escapes me right now. Pardon me. Even Tua Tagovailoa, who when he's healthy, he was having an MVP season until he got concussed. And then I think we're going out to the West Coast this year for the AFC games, aren't we? I don't remember exactly, but we have the San Diego quarterback. It's just the list goes on and on as far as these high-end QBs we have to play.
Yeah,
it's like a gauntlet.
I think my only thing with the draft, and let's just take it in totality, and then we can always go into what other picks from there, is these players have to see the field, right? We're not in a position right now where we have a rookie quarterback or a second-year guy is going to be here for the next 5, 6, 7 years. Our window is to maximum 3 years, right? I mean, let's say if everything goes well and we end up in the playoffs multiple times and Aaron says, I love New York, right? And he's wearing I love New York t-shirts, every day. So if that's the case, right, maximum maybe 3 years on it. So these players have to develop fast. They have to crack a loaded roster, to be honest, right now, right? I mean, it's not like we're not the Jets of 2 or 3 years ago, right? JD has put players in place. We have Jermaine Johnson we drafted last year, right, at the edge, right? We drafted another guy. You know who I'm talking about, the mean
Clemens.
Clemens, right? Who saw the field. Bryce Huff, who's out there. I mean, we have multiple edges that are out there. This guy has to crack the field. He has to see the field in order for it to make sense for us. So that's the only thing. Tippmann has to play. He has to win that center job, right? I mean, that's the only thing from the perspective of the draft that we put together is these guys really have to see the field.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that part of the Aaron Rodgers effect is that he's going to bring in veterans that are going to want to play here, right? So you still have roster spots that have to be filled, right? You're still going to have, I think they're still going to get a veteran offensive tackle. I think we're going to, just like when we signed Morgan Moses, I think that's another possibility where they release someone and the first thing that they're going to think of was, well, Aaron Rodgers is on the Jets. I might need to sign there. They're going to have to sign a defensive tackle from somewhere.
Sure,
right?
But my only thing is
there are veterans out there that are going to want to come here, and it might even give us a discount for that purpose. So I know you mentioned our first round pick has to see the field, right? But he's really he's a situational rusher, right? So is he going to start, on first down? I don't think so. I
No,
think they're
no,
going
no.
to I think they're going to end up picking up somebody else. And I think they might end up letting go Carl Lawson and bringing in an edge that can play your first 2 or 3 down. So I don't know that our fourth round offensive tackle is going to see the field. I don't know if Tittman
No.
is going to start at center. It could be that Aaron Rodgers wants a veteran start at center, and Pittman, plays the backup and or fills in for one of the guards if they get hurt, or if Lincoln Tomlinson just isn't playing well at all, you pull him out and you put him there. So I think what they're doing is trying to give themselves enough level of flexibility so that when they complete the roster, they'll fill them in with dudes that the your veteran quarterback is comfortable with.
I'll tell you,
we got
the one thing though, just to a little caveat in your argument here. One thing about the D line in Robert Sala's system, he rotates them a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does it more than just about any other team in the NFL, comparable to, say, the San Francisco 49ers. So you'll have like Quentin Williams, who only sees 60% of the snaps,
Well, that happened. Before you continue, I do agree with you, but that happened in the beginning of the year, and then he increased his snap count. If you look at how often he was on that field, he started complaining about that was the whole fight.
Yes, that was a fight. Yes,
the whole fight.
I remember that.
Like, leave me on the field. Leave me on the field. Right.
But see, that's for Quentin. He's the All-Pro, right? You know what I'm saying? He's the guy. But like the philosophy is high rotation. So I'm okay with I think we will see McDonald on some first downs, and I don't think he'll just be relegated as a pass rushing specialist. I think he's going to get his reps in there. Maybe not as many as, say, a starter, but he's going to get his reps in there.
I don't think that's solid history. I don't think that's solid history. You can look at Jermaine Johnson and see that.
Well, he was a rookie.
Right? Yeah, but so is McDonald. So is McDonald
hurt too. I'm just saying, and he got hurt too. But
we haven't found anybody to replace Sheldon Rankins yet.
Well, I know that. You know what I was going for.
Yeah, I know.
well,
like I said, I think it's going to be a rotational type of thing where they're going to bring in veterans right after this draft. You're going to see that they're going to sign a significant amount of veterans after this time. But go ahead.
We're going to wind up having two of the starting D tackles from Seattle.
Al
is
Woods.
My guess.
Yeah.
Al Woods, and Quentin Jefferson, who
Al Woods he got signed. Al Woods?
No,
Al Woods is coming for a visit.
Okay.
Yeah, he's come for a visit. They said yesterday. And Al Woods is good.
Yeah.
Right.
I think Al Woods is a comp with Sheldon Rankins. Because if you remember,
and again, same concept. It's like I'm saying, it's like you're going to sign veterans that are going to want to come here after this first wave of free agents because now Aaron Rodgers is signed.
Yeah. And Sheldon Rankins, when we got Sheldon Rankins, was after bad ankle injury, and he hadn't played well in a few years. He didn't play well the first year he was with us, and then he had a good year last year. So I think Al Woods comes in. Al Woods is a big body. But I would say probably the most intriguing person that we drafted is this tight end from Old Dominion. And I watched a lot of stuff on him yesterday, and former Penn State tight end. He won the state title in the 110 hurdles in Pennsylvania, which is very impressive to me. 6'7", 255, and he can catch the ball.
And he ran a 4.55 in the 40. He
has the RAS score, the RAS, the relative athletic score. Has been around since the 80s. He has the highest RAS score of any tight end in the draft. And he was a guy that got just like you were saying with the Carter Warren pick, he had a dislocated kneecap and didn't play like the last 5 games of his season. But he is an impressive looking dude, and if we get a guy like that in the 7th round, and he turns out to be like he comps with Gilsicki, which you guys know I've always loved Gilsicki. I always wanted Gilsicki on the Jets.
From
And
Miami?
From Miami, yeah. I wanted to draft him straight out.
I feel like he comes more with the Philadelphia tight end.
Goddard?
Yeah, but just faster than Goddard.
But Goddard isn't that big.
No, he's 6'6".
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think so.
This guy is 6'7", 255, and like I saw this whole video of him working out at Exos. It was like this tight end Adam Brenneman does these profiles on people, and he looked like a quarterback, right? Like he looked like a power forward. No, not a lot of body fat, stuff like that.
That sounds like Gronk.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting. I think it might be a super steal there in the 7th round. But I mean, time will tell. I don't know what it means for Jeremy Ruckert, who was a higher draft pick than him. Ruckert was 5th round, if I remember correctly.
4th round, yeah.
And maybe Nathaniel Hackett's going to be a 4 tight end guy.
Right. This was a significantly deep tight end draft too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was.
So like last year and this year were both really good tight end drafts.
The other guy too, Zaire Barnes, that we drafted from Western Michigan. There was this weird conversation that they had when they did the draft phone call, in which Saleh referred to him, like they brought him in for a workout, and Saleh referred to a meeting that they had where he told them that he was a perfect fit for the defense and that they were going to go out and get him. And they did go out and get him. So I wouldn't be surprised if they like this guy Zaire Barnes enough that, maybe it's leverage for whether you re-sign Quan Alexander or not.
I was just going to ask.
Yeah, and he's a sideline guy, right? So he's fast, he covers well. So maybe that's what they saw in him. And
he's like Quan.
Yeah.
And if you look at him, height and weight, he's 6'1". Quan is 6'1" or 6 feet, and he weighs 233, and he runs a 4.56 40.
Right.
So I'm noticing that like they like their outside backers to be rangy, and sometimes the rangy super fast guys are a little bit smaller.
Right.
But they're fine with that. You know what I'm saying? Look at Quincy Williams on the other side. Look at Quan Alexander. You know what I'm saying? They can both move, but they're both relatively short. 6 foot, 6'1". Q is only 5'11". You know what I'm saying? And then now Barnes, but they can run like the wind. And as a matter of fact, what I like about the tight end is that, he's a little bit faster than Barnes because Barnes ran a 4.56, but the tight end that we drafted in the 7th round ran a 4.55, and he's 6'7", 255.
Well, they're going to be battling each other in practice for sure.
All day.
All day.
But Barnes also sounds like a Demario Davis type in that he comes in with I can cover tight ends step for step type of reputation.
Right.
In a league where Gilsicki is now on the Patriots. You're going to have good tight end play at Buffalo. And if we go back to the Detroit game, it was our inability to cover a tight end in the Detroit game that lost that game for us.
Yeah.
Well, he better be able to cover tight ends better than Quan or Quincy, because neither of
Quincy's
could cover anybody, even if they had a comforter.
Or LaMarcus Joyner.
Yeah, the safety play, and that's one of the things that we didn't get out of this draft was I expected us to draft a safety. So I was a little disappointed that we didn't do that. What would we give this draft as far as the grade is concerned? If we
that was my question. I was about to segue into that. You know what I'm saying? So we had some highs and then some lows, and one of the lows was not getting a safety that we definitely need. So good question, Brian. Kerry, I'd like to start with you. And we're all going to do this, so we'll start with you, Kerry. What would you give the Jets draft as far as a grade? How would you grade them in this 2023 draft?
The overall draft, I would probably give them a B minus. And that is primarily because I wanted an offensive tackle in the first round. And I understand that we gave away, or we had a pick swap that Coach Kyle was endorsing. But I think that put us at a disadvantage. And again, I'm giving them a B minus with the caveat that had they been able to keep that number 13 pick, it would have been a higher grade, in my opinion, right? But that said, I would have still made the trade as is, even though we have no protections for year 2, until we were able to renegotiate his contract, and which pushed off the bonus to next year, which means he has to play the second year, in my opinion.
To get the money. Yeah.
Right, to get the money. So it's still, to me, it's a B minus. That could have been a B plus had we have done something better with our acquisition of Aaron Rodgers.
All righty. You know what? I'm going to go next. I'm going to give the Jets draft a B. I was not lingering, but I was thinking.
Changed his grade. Changed his grade from the outline.
Yeah. My outline was a B minus, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm gonna step it up and give it a B. And here's the reason. The reason is because I'm going to treat the acquisition of Aaron Rodgers as part of the draft. We immediately go from being totally out of it to now being potentially a top 5 team in the AFC. So we acquired him. In the draft, we acquire players, so he's part of our acquisition.
Yeah, agreed.
Then we have the second highest rated pass rusher. You know, you can never have too many. And we have more depth in our running back room, more depth in our tight end room, and also, just adding more special teams depth to say the linebackers and this and that with Barnes. We'll see how that plays out. So, and I understand that we're in the AFC, like what I stated before. We're going up against these fantastic quarterbacks. So the fact that we got another pass rusher, considering that we couldn't get an offensive tackle, kind of, soothes it a little bit. You know what I mean? Puts a little ointment on the wound there. The reason why I can't grade them any higher than that is because we couldn't get an offensive tackle. That is what we needed. I feel like the courting of Aaron Rodgers, we became like an open book test. The answers were right there. We were very easy to read. Everyone in the NFL knew that we needed an offensive tackle. There was no way that we could hide that and play chess. You know what I mean? So everyone knew it. That's why it was so easy for New England to kind of go in there and nudge us, so to speak. You know what I mean? And so that was kind of tough because we still need that. But even though I didn't want Aaron Rodgers, I'm now happy that he's here because he is a great quarterback and we didn't have any other choices. We went all in for him. So at least we succeeded in that. And the thing that I think that won Aaron Rodgers over, if you think about it, he's never been courted. Remember, in 2005 when he was drafted, he dropped to the 24th pick.
Yep.
So he walked on the field sour grapes, right? And then he's been with the Green Bay Packers for 18 years, but for 3 of those 18 years, he had to sit. All righty? So he came out sour grapes again. Then he finally gets on the field, Hall of Fame career and everything. But this is the first time that he has been courted. You know what I mean? The Jets showing him love. Oh, Aaron, we need you. We need you. So it feels good. He's at the Ranger game now. He's at the Knick game now. Jet fans are going nuts over this guy. You know, you watch any show, Mike Greenberg going nuts. You can stay at my house. You can stay at my house. All that. So it must feel good. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that it feels so good, we're seeing positive vibes coming out from Aaron Rodgers about the New York Jets, which I think, you know, will attract people to the Jets who want to sign with the Jets. It sure attracted his favorite target in Lazard coming here because he kind of knew that he was going to be there eventually. We got the wide receiver from Kansas City, Hardman, Mecole Hardman, and we're going to get some more people too. So putting all of that into a draft grade because I feel like it's all kind of like interrelated. That's why I bumped it up to a B.
Okay. Kyle, you want to go next?
Sure. I'm solid B. You know, we all felt a certain kind of way after night one. You know, I was kind of like, why did I waste all my time doing these mock drafts for 3 months? I had a depressed feeling. But once I realized, you know, the way that things were rolling out there and how good this player that we picked could potentially be, you know, I pivoted. I was really happy with the Tippmann pick. Like, you know, I thought it was the right place for him to go. And he seems very enthusiastic about coming and playing for the Jets as well.
Do you feel like he's the best center in the draft?
Great question.
I think that the answer to that question is 5 different people could look at the group of centers and have 5 different best centers in the draft. John Michael Schmitz was only a consensus best center in the draft to people because of how well he did the Senior Bowl. I keep the guides, like the preseason guides, Phil Steele and Athlons and stuff from before the college season, and kind of look at it that way. And Jared Patterson, who was like the 5th center taken, was everybody's consensus number one.
We love Patterson.
Yeah, I love Patterson because for the same reason I like Skoronski, because they have position versatility, you know, and you know, somebody who projects as a guard but can play tackle to me is very valuable. But
Tippmann as well, because he can play center or guard, and he's probably the most athletic out of all of the linemen that like the top
Agreed.
5 centers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Tippmann didn't really have any starts at guard at Ohio State.
Well,
at Wisconsin.
At Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
From what I've heard, he can play both. From what I've read, he can play both center or guard. But he came in, he played tackle in high school, and then came in and then switched up. And I'm guessing
he's a freak in that as a center, he's 6'6" and has length.
I think
right?
he's 6'7". No, he's 6'6".
No, 6'6".
6'6" and has length. So that's not your typical center, right? In terms of size and frame. But you know, look, I want like you said, I like the fact that he has the ability or potential ability to slide in that guard. I mean, we need that flexibility on our offensive line.
Yeah.
I think that's on you. So I think if day 1 and day 2, you know, we feel pretty good about them. I think the thing that gets the Jets to a solid B for me is the manipulation of day 3, getting more picks, you know, getting in and out of picks to pick up some more. I think we started the day with, correct me if I'm wrong, we started the day with 4 and we ended with 5.
Yeah, we traded with New England to get more picks. Can you believe that?
Yeah, and when they picked the kicker, and somebody was saying, "Oh, well, what's gonna if that's the kicker that beats us in the you know, the playoffs? We're gonna really be pissed off about this draft." But
no, because we're gonna put a 6'7" Hunts in there, and he's gonna block it.
Yeah, he's got a really big vertical too.
What was his last name, Brandon?
Isn't it Kuntz?
Kuntz.
Yeah, it is Kuntz.
Is it
Kuntz?
Kuntz?
That's unfortunate.
Or Kuntz. Is it Kuntz or Kuntz?
I think it's Kuntz.
I think it's Kuntz.
Daggone it.
but it is what it is. Are you?
It's Kuntz.
Yes. Just spell it out every time instead.
Yeah, I'm saying Kuntz. How about that? From now on, I'm saying Kuntz. Shut up, Kerry.
All
So
right.
the day three picks and the manipulation of day three, I think, is what really makes it a success. Um, Hitting on some of the things that you need and bolstering good rooms that we have. I was pretty happy with that, and I do agree with Kerry that you're going to be able to sign some free agents. This is your bargain basement free agent signing time, because now it's like they gotta get in there, and if they're going to give you a discount, it's going to be now. We got the Morgan Moses discount one year. We got the Quan discount another year. Quan didn't even sign until training camp,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
So he came out like the second day of training camp. So we'll be pretty okay there. But I think that things are going in the right direction, and we've checked some boxes that were big time needs, like finding out who the quarterback we're intending to go into battle with is going to be, and
All
you
right.
know
Yeah.
So Brian, what's your grade, B?
Yeah. So that's a great question. I think I started off the podcast with a B minus, and then Brandon added Aaron Rodgers to the draft hall, and we kind of had conversations around other things, and then I put the JD lens on it, right, and the experience and the success he had last year, to trust in some of the picks that I thought were maybe reaches. I'm gonna give it a B plus, right? I'm gonna put it there, right? I think with all of that, um, if he was right about the pass rusher, what does that do to our defense, right? If he's right about the center, then man, I mean that's going to be great, right? One of the top centers in a center heavy draft. We got a running back out of it as well, somebody that could take the pressure off of Brees. A developmental tackle out there, tight end. I mean, there's a lot of things. Again, if he's right on those picks, and I think this is a draft where there wasn't a lot of opportunity to be aggressive to move up in the draft, and that's what I liked about what he did last year. Is you got a guy, go get him, right? Don't you got a fifth round pick or sixth round pick, trade that in order to move up in order to get the guy that you want. And I don't think that this is the draft for that. So the fact that he moved back, like Kyle mentioned, in day three, and he didn't have a lot of opportunity to maybe move back from 15. And then I looked at some of the picks from 15 to 32. I was like, I don't want any of those guys. Maybe, the wide receiver out of Ohio State, but that was about it. So I'll give it a B plus, and let's see what ends up
yeah.
happening.
Now you had an issue with not picking JL Skinner when we could have.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
and I wonder if you're factoring that in there, because the one pick that we haven't talked about is the corner from LSU, um, who I don't know whether he's going to be able to do anything but play special teams when you're too deep at corner, and you got a nickel guy. I mean, maybe he's a backup nickel.
Well, he played safety
Um,
too. He played some snaps at safety as well. So maybe they're figuring out he can play at that position, because they moved their safeties around too. So maybe the speed, size puts him as a developmental safety as well. So we'll see. But I like Skinner, man. I felt like he was a good draft pick if we got him late. And he went, what, in the sixth round or something like that? He ended up going. So to me, they could have picked him up, and he's a starting safety, or
Who do you
maybe
play for
safety
again?
number 3, Boise State.
Boise State. Okay.
Yeah, look
the
good on
Buccaneers
tape.
got this guy Izzian from Rutgers, who's one of the Brooklyn kids, and I would have liked to have taken a chance on that kid, or worked some way to get him as a UDFA, because he has experience playing every single defensive back position at Rutgers. And I would say, if you're going to get a D back, Alabama, Rutgers, and LSU are the three best places to get them from.
Yeah,
With D Milner being the exception.
In Georgia.
sure.
Georgia too, yeah.
Yeah. D Milner. Oh my goodness. Anyway, let's leave that alone and let's move on.
Let's leave that alone.
Yeah, for real. Let's leave that alone. Let's move on to something that's still New York. You know, it's just not the Jets. We're going to talk about the New York Knicks, baby.
We are the New York Knicks.
That's right. In the playoffs, all righty, in the playoffs, and we won our first series in the playoffs. And who do we beat?
Cleveland Cavaliers.
That's right, the Cleveland Cavaliers, who I think most people thought that we were going to lose to. Not anyone here, but just people I'm talking to and this and that. Oh, they've got the best defense in the league, and da-da-da-da, and Donovan Mitchell, and you guys should have gotten him, and blah, 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 blah. But here we are. We're, on our way. So I'm going to make a prediction just off the top.
Okay.
I think that we're going to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think it'll be a slugfest.
Hey, okay.
Yeah, I think it'll be a slugfest, but I think we'll get there in Game 7. As long as we have Randall coming back healthy from his ankle. But I'm looking towards that, as a longer, as far as playoffs are concerned, a longer term kind of goal. I think it's very, very possible that we make it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
So if we are able to make it past the Miami Heat, which they are a good team and they're a clutch team, and they got Jimmy Butler, and we've all seen what Jimmy Butler did in the first series.
Not your typical 8 seed, but go ahead.
Right. So no, it really doesn't even matter what their seed is right now, right? They're battle tested. They were in the play-in games. Yep. They beat the number 1 seed, and now they're our opponent, right? So the series is going to be tough. However, I think whatever I just said just made Siri. I'm not going to say the name again. Go off on my computer. But
not what I said.
No matter what happens, we get past this. Who's the best team in the East, right?
Boston.
If Embiid isn't playing for the 76ers, it's certainly not them. And we match up really well with Boston.
Uh-huh.
We had our way with them in the regular season, and if we're at full strength, mano y mano, I think that we're, I could take it a step further than Brandon. I think if we can get past Miami, we might be an NBA Finals team.
Wow.
Listen. Hey, what? What are we even talking about right now, right? We are still talking about the Knicks, right?
Talking a lot of truth, though. But
we are still talking about the Knicks, right? This is crazy talk right now.
Truth,
right? I mean, we weren't even guaranteed to make it into the playoffs, right? And for us to end up as a 5 seed was exceeding expectations. Beating Cleveland, who was a 4 seed, in 5 games, mind you, is exceeding expectations. And now, dare to dream, right? Dare to dream to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Things are definitely bouncing. The pole's bouncing our way with Miami bouncing. The Bucks out of the playoffs and Embiid being hurt, like you mentioned. But look at the offseason and what got us here. Jalen Brunson picking that dude up. I mean, he's a beast.
I love that dude. Bro.
Right? We lost today, but he had 25 points, 7 assists. Think about
he had a poor game.
And the turnovers, 0 for 7 from 3-point. These are not typical Jalen Brunson numbers. As a team, we shot 20% from 3-point land. That's not going to win any NBA games, right? Let alone a playoff game. So those are some things that we need to clean up. But you think of Josh Hart and picking him up. Think about not trading for Donovan Mitchell. If you trade for Donovan Mitchell, maybe Mitchell Robinson's not here. Obi Toppin's not here. Emmanuel Quickley is not here. Maybe Grimes is not here. I mean, that all of our bench strength. RJ Barrett, right? I mean, there's multiple.
We would have given up all of that and the picks, but it would have some combination thereof. Yes.
Yeah. So you got to give the front office its flowers at this point in time in their ability to put us in a position where we are ahead of schedule, right? We just wanted to make it into the playoffs and maybe win a couple of games, But if you're talking about potentially going to the finals or having a path where it's conceivable to go to the finals, I mean, this is crazy. Obviously, we have to get past Miami, but I mean, dare to dream.
Yeah, yeah. Let me qualify this statement though. Getting past Miami is the big thing.
Sure.
I think my point in saying the finals is that the hardest team to beat between here and the finals, in my opinion, is the Miami Heat.
Wow.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Really?
Wow. Wow. That's deep. That's
Even
deep.
Boston?
They did go to the finals
we
last
won
year, did
three
they
games.
not?
We were 3-1 versus Boston in the regular season.
Come
I
on.
Yeah, but
always liked our
they weren't
chances
fully
against them.
stocked. During all three of those games, they weren't fully stocked.
They didn't have their
Atlanta
center.
pushed Atlanta
Pushed them to
pushed
6.
Boston to 6, and I think that we're a much better team than Atlanta is.
Well, I'd say this: if we end up there, then we played our best basketball. Like we can't
To beat Miami.
Miami
Yeah.
and Boston, right? So in order for us to say, we're sitting here 2 weeks from now and we are in the finals, that means we played out of our minds for 2 weeks straight. Out of our minds, right? Our best level basketball. We shot the ball, we rebounded, and nobody else got hurt because we can't afford anybody else to get hurt. We are a team of 9 rotation guys that all 9 have to come to play every game. We can't take it off now like we did in
I
Cleveland.
don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I think Cleveland proved that. I think you didn't have Randall the entire series. You sat Randall down second half of a game. Excuse me, the last quarter of a game that they needed to win, and you still won. You had Quickly, who didn't score the first 2 games, right?
But look at the opponent, though. Look at the opponent. Cleveland is not Miami, and Cleveland is not Boston.
Again, when you say look at the opponent, they were still 4th in the league. They still had the best defense in the NBA, right? So again, it's about you can't now discount the level of
competition,
because you beat them. What you say is you beat them, and they tried to be at their best, right? They weren't missing anyone.
No,
right?
but
they weren't missing anyone. The Knicks were just able to expose what they were able to expose, even with the absence of Randall, right? So what I would say is it's a team effort. The way the Knicks win is they can play their starting 5 can play anybody even. They win because of their bench and their bench's ability to outplay the other team's bench. And Boston's bench is formidable, right? So but the issue here is with Miami is that Miami has a grizzled veteran team that is built for the playoffs. They're not built for the regular season, right? They just want to get in. That's all they care about. Let's just get in. We'll figure it out once we're there. I will say this too. I give Tibbs a lot of credit. I give their front office a lot of credit, but I give their front office credit for saying to Tibbs, "We're going to let you handle this." Because if you remember, there were a lot of calls for Tibbs to be
fired,
replaced at the beginning of the season because they weren't playing well, right?
Mm-hmm.
There were calls to sit Randall down. There were calls to play Obi Toppin more. Obi Toppin didn't know all the plays, right? So that's part of the reason why he wasn't playing. Just to let you know, right? But at the end of the day, the way the Knicks are going to win, they're not going to beat Miami without Randall.
I do not know all the plays in basketball. That's
what? Again. We're not going to debate this. We're not going to debate this.
Right? No, it's not a debate. I'm just saying, like football has a much bigger playbook than say basketball. Like, how do you as a player not know all the plays?
Again, when you're again, this is I'm just telling you what it is, right? But
I hear you.
Why are you calling him the Denzel Mims of the Knicks?
Funny.
My greater point is they need all hands on deck, and that includes Randall. And for some of these fans to say we don't need Randall to win these series, they are out of their mind. Yes, they can win 1 or 2 or 3 games, but these games are grinded out, especially when you're talking about playing Miami, and then you're going to talk about playing a physical Boston team or a physical Philadelphia team. No way you're going to do it unless you have everybody involved, all 9.
You know what, Kerry? I 100% agree with you in this debate between you and your brother. I do. I'm with you. I'm with you. You win.
Yeah.
You lose.
Well, here's funny. So here's where again, I think opponent does matter. You know, you can't say opponent does. You're talking about an 8 seed that just bounced to number 1 in the entire league, right? We're
Right.
not doing.
And I said that.
Right.
I said that.
So
I said that they are built for the playoffs.
yeah,
That's how Miami is built.
absolutely. So I don't. Again, I think in that what you're debating is, do we have to play out of our minds in order for us to beat Miami and Boston over the next 2 weeks? I think that's what we're debating. And
No, I'm not saying we have to play out of our minds. I'm saying we all have to. I'm saying the entire team has to be ready and available. I'm saying we're not going to beat Miami or anybody in the next round unless Randall is available and playing.
okay, yeah, we agree with that. I mean, but again,
Yeah.
I think we have to take it up another level. We can't play how we played at Cleveland. We shot under 30% from 3.
Right.
So that's what I mean. Like again, so that's where I think we're saying the same thing. Opponent does matter. We can't play the same way we played against Cleveland in order to beat Miami and Boston. So that way, I think we're saying the same thing. So to Brandon.
I just love the way like a Knicks playoff season feels, right? Like the anticipation of the game later on that day, like if you look at my Instagram story right now, it's all Knicks all the time.
Phew.
Right? Like that's all I'm posting up there. I also figured out how you can do that from the buttons, but it's kind of like dad just figured out how to use Instagram. Um, but yeah, the just like the overall feeling of being a Knicks fan while things are going well. And that time period, I was away with work last week, and you know, being in the hotel room watching the Knicks games and just being appointment TV is it's a feeling that you really haven't felt consistently since the 90s. I mean, in the 90s, we built our whole spring around when the Knicks playoff games were. And that was like, going deep into an Eastern Conference Finals or an NBA Finals in 94 or 99. It's a lot of fun. You forget how fun it is.
And Pat blew his Achilles out. That crushed me out. Sorry.
It's a rough injury.
It is.
Sorry.
No fun experience.
What a downer.
I know, Debbie Downer.
What a downer, Debbie. Appreciate you.
I'm sorry.
Don't let Pat pass security tonight, though. So,
all right. So listen. So at least we're all headed in the same direction as far as the New York Knicks are concerned. You think it was a semantical game rather than anyone really disagreeing with one another. You know what I'm saying? So I think we're in the same direction. So, since we've already, established all that, let's keep rooting for these guys. And I think we all think that it's possible that there's a real possibility that the Knicks can move on to the Eastern Conference, and now after the convo, maybe even the finals. All righty,
go New York, go New York, go New York, go New York, go.
So look,
it
seems like we're all peaked out. So that means we should cue up the music for Peak Me, Tweak Me.
Yeah. All right, we ready to go? Let's rock.
Yes, sir. This is Tweak Me, Peak Me. Basically, this is where the members of the BKBK podcast, we talk about what fires us up and then what douses our flames. That's what Peak Me and Tweak Me talks about. So, who wants to go first? Kerry, did I tweak you out at some point? No, I don't think so. I think your brother might have. Do you want to go first, or Brian? Do you want to go first?
I'll go first.
You go first.
I'll go first. So what tweaked me initially was not having an offensive tackle in the first round. I think we all mocked offensive tackle in the first round. I think everybody who was watching the draft or had any affiliation to NFL football at all were, mocking an offensive tackle in the first round. So that's what tweaked me. Again, I recognize why, with the pick swap, and you weren't going to be able to get Aaron Rodgers unless it happened. What piqued me was us getting a center in the second round that can offer some versatility on our offensive line. And when you couple him with AVT and possibly Mekhi Becton getting better, and playing at a Pro Bowl, possibly a Pro Bowl level, and you add in, the pickup of Max Mitchell from, from a draft ago. I'm feeling more optimistic about our prospects, and bringing back Connor McGovern, who Brandon Phillips despises, but
He's not on his Christmas card list, I guess.
Because his
He denies his PFF grade.
I don't despise him.
I just don't see it. What it is that he doesn't pass the eye test to me. He doesn't pass the eye test to me, and I can't see it because my contacts aren't in.
Get some new eyes.
I don't know.
Don't
Just
say
saying.
that because you know
That's
what?
my personal. Look, you're gonna have your time. You're gonna have your time. It's not your turn. Not your turn.
I might end up meeting some of these dudes. Pause. You know what I'm saying?
Not your turn. Not your turn. Again, so my point is, my tweak me is not having the offensive tackle, and my peak me is getting Tippmann, who we will call Tip from now on.
That's right.
Tip Drew.
In the second round. Thank you very much.
Phew.
All right. You know what? I'm going to go next.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, because he needs to rebut.
Nah.
He wants to rebut. He wants to be a butt.
Nah, because who knows? I might be meeting certain dudes someday, and I don't want to have to put my dukes up or anything.
If you scared, say you scared, bro. If you scared, say you scared.
He's gonna come in studio.
Yeah. I'm like a whole generation older and fatter than these dudes now, man. It's like I don't know. Look at Kyle. Kyle's like, well, yeah, B.
You and me both.
What'd you say, Kyle?
You and me both.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Gee whiz, I can't even imagine. Yeah, listen, good point, Kerry. I love it, man. I love it. I think what tweaks me is I got a couple things that tweak me. I didn't hear about any homegrown Long Islanders getting drafted. That kind of tweaks me out a little bit. You know what I'm saying? That kind of bothers me. Doesn't mean that it didn't happen, but I haven't heard anything yet. I haven't read anything yet. That kind of bugs me. I don't like it that, these college programs, they recruit all over and then they stop in New Jersey, jump over Long Island, and then they go to Massachusetts. That bugs me. I'm not into that. I think we got a lot of good football players here on the island, and it looks like they're not passing up Brooklyn as much, but they're still new. It's like a resurgence a little bit. And then if they're in Brooklyn, these guys are going to Wagner, they're going to Fordham. You know what I mean? They're going to the FCS schools, and then if they get a true D1 school, they end up going to Rutgers. And I just feel like Rutgers, good program. Rutgers puts out guys into the pros. You know what I'm saying? Look at Pacheco. Look at the longtime safety twin brothers that New England had. You know what I mean? I think one of them might end up in the Hall of Fame, but I'm just saying, that kind of bugs me a little bit because I would love to hear some native Long Islanders get their name called like how it was called last year with Jeremy Ruckert, out of Lucky Lindy, who's a big-time Jet fan, grew up being a Jet fan. I just love that. I'm a hopeless romantic type of a dude, you know what I mean? I'm a big softie, so I like hearing stuff like that. So that's a little tweak. But the big tweak is the fact that we got swindled out of our draft pick by the New England Patriots and the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I hope, the potential peak, but I don't know it. I hope the trade that we made with the Pats to gain more picks in the latter rounds end up screwing them over later on. How about that, jerks? I mean, not them, but Pats jerks, not you guys.
I hope that Will McDonald sacks Mac Jones 10 times while the Steelers win. So. I would say that my tweak was the Get Up Crew's reaction to the Aaron Rodgers trade and Mike Tannenbaum particularly. Brandon's guy. Saying that we pay too much, and then Ryan Clark jumping in along with Woody
I hated them
on
saying
it.
that it was 2 first-round picks. It's like, come on, it's just inaccurate. Jeez.
No, you're right. It's just inaccurate, and I think the Get Up crew was trying to make a better production move for the ins and the outs.
Hey, listen,
Um,
Hit Up Crew. I don't know them, but what do I know?
Listen, if they need it,
I
if they
don't
need
know
it,
them at all. You know what I mean? I
if
don't know
they
them at
need
all,
it,
but they're a wonderful crew.
if they need a new, if they need something to go with, they can just have Richard Jefferson get the basketball passed to him by
Oh
a
my
certain
gosh.
person, break a TV.
Nah, that
But the thing about
kids
the
got hand.
thing the thing that piques me though is that I think that we are headed in the right direction. I think that we've gotten through this draft and we're going to go into this free agency period. We were a team that nobody wanted to watch, um, and now we're a team where I'm not even sure if I'm going to get the Sunday ticket on YouTube because there's going to be at least 6 primetime games, and I don't know if it's worth the money for them. And that's a big difference between you know getting the Charles Davis Iron Eagle crew or the number one Fox crew for our games.
It won't be on Amazon Prime.
Well, I think we'll be on Amazon Prime for the Thursday primetime games that will be on, but the Sunday ticket's going to be on YouTube TV, which I have. So it's and they're offering $100 discount right now. So I'm weighing the options. I might not need it.
Or you could
Like
use
I.
your extra money to come with us to Dallas to see Dallas play the Jets.
So do we know that that's at Dallas for sure?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Well, if Alaska Airlines has a flight nonstop,
I'm taking Southwest.
South
you might get there after the game starts.
Exactly.
Right.
With no bags. No bags.
You could always take
Bags.
Spirit. You always take Spirit Airlines.
Yeah.
Pay a little bit extra for the parachute, but
You might end up being a Spirit.
there's a lot of jokes about Spirit Airlines.
I know.
All
You see
right.
the pilot parachuting out of the window going like this to you. Hey.
See you later. Am I up?
Yeah, you are.
Looks like it is. All right. Batting cleanup. All right. So my peak, and Kyle mentioned it earlier, is the New York Knicks in the playoffs. I mean, it's wonderful just to say, hey, when are we playing? Oh, yeah, Sunday, 1 o'clock. We're going to watch the game. And it's meaningful basketball at the end of the day. They played in the playoffs a couple years ago, but looked horrible against Atlanta. But now you feel like, well, you got Jalen Brunson out there and the depth that we have. I don't fear any team, right, for us to go in there and feel like we're going to not get embarrassed. And we actually are going to be in there into the fourth quarter. So I am super excited and pumped about that particular piece. And my tweak is it's not really a tweak, but it's really you got Aaron Rodgers. I want to see the Jets play tomorrow. I don't want to wait till September. I wish September was like right now, right? I mean, end of basketball season, go directly into football, right? I don't want to OTAs, opportunity for injury, none of that stuff. Like everybody just suit up right now and start playing because I want to see Aaron Rodgers out there slinging the ball around. For the first time in a long time, just like Jalen Brunson as our point guard, we have a quarterback where there's no team out there that I fear. Does that feel crazy? Right. I know we're playing, Kansas City, but we got Aaron Rodgers back here. We got a shot. We got a chance. Now, if he wasn't back there, I'd be like, this game is over in halftime. Now I'm like, we got a shot. We got a shot. So that's my only tweak. I want to watch meaningful football like tomorrow for the Jets, and I got to wait a couple months. That's all.
I tell you what, the best feeling in the world is if this is the time that Zach Wilson makes a turnaround, makes an internal turnaround, which will affect his play in a positive way out in the field just by sitting back, staying quiet, and taking notes from Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers, because he's so happy being here, he was courted, he was wounded, and he feels so great about everything. Total job security here, getting paid a ton of money. And he's like, I'm just going to give everything that I know from my 18 years in this league and coach this kid up on how to be a better quarterback. And when I decide to ride off into the sunset, take it over, kid. You know what I mean?
He can show him how to throw it over the head of the 6'7" center that we just drafted. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. No doubt. So that's hey, listen, that's wishful thinking for me. You know what I mean? Because I still like the kid. You know what I mean? I still like the kid.
I guess.
But he's just not there right now. But anyway.
I mean, don't think that wasn't part of what they're going to use this as a narrative, as to say that Aaron Rodgers can have an impact on this team 10 years after he leaves here if Zach Wilson turns out to be quarterback for the remainder after Aaron Rodgers leaves.
Sure.
So,
and if he does that and this kid becomes a great quarterback or even a really good one, Aaron Rodgers is going to have part ownership of the New York Jets. He's going to buy in somehow.
He already owns the Bears. So
yeah, that's true. That's true.
The Bears.
I own you. Yeah, man. So everybody, hey, listen, thanks for watching another episode of the BKBK podcast. And we want to be able to keep bringing you the latest news and viewpoints of where sports and the culture collide and the Jets reign supreme. So keep watching. You can find us on Facebook, on our BKBK podcast fan page, Twitter on BKBK podcast, on Instagram at BKBK podcast, as well as YouTube. Go to YouTube, type in BKBK podcast. Make sure, guys, hit the like and the subscribe button, all righty, so you can show us more love. Forward it to all the people that you love who want to see four friends who grew up together in the same town, played football, and all of that, and our perspective of what it was like growing up, being Jets fans, Knicks fans, Yankee fans, most of us, Kerry, all righty, and just New York sporting fans, you know what I'm saying? And all of that, all righty? So, and if you can't watch us, you can listen to us, all righty? So just go to the BKBK podcast.podomatic.com. You can tune in there, all right? And that's it, guys. So let's go Jets. Let's go Team BKBK. Let's go Baldwin Bruins. Let's go Knicks, baby.
Let's go Knicks. Let's go.
Hey, let's go New York and let's go New York sports. How about that? They're both in the playoffs. Let's go, baby.
That's right.
I don't think we saw any more New York than we've seen.